I'm Doug Shoemaker. I'm the president of Mercy Housing California. I'm going to be your MC for the next, I think, 2 hours worth of speakers. That was a small joke. No, we do. I think we do have a tremendous list of folks because this has been a partnership that has brought together just so many people. The cliche is it takes a village, and this one is true. You'll hear from many of the partners that made this possible. This has been an event that is long years in the coming. As Lachelle mentioned to me just a minute ago, it feels like it's been a long time, and it hasn't been, in fact, 6 years. But we're here today, and that's the thing to celebrate, along with a small baseball event. So we might be the only people gathered today not celebrating the Giants, but we might as well do that for a second. Many of you don't know that Mercy Housing is also responsible for the Giants' victory. More on that later, we hope. So it's a long program. We're going to hear from a lot of folks who are involved in various things. I just want to mention what a privilege it is to be here. We have started working on veterans housing several years back. We just opened our first all veterans housing community in El Monte, for those of you that know, in San Gabriel Valley. And it's been a privilege. We consider this to be an incredible opportunity for us to work with you in partnership. Obviously, this is one of those critical issues that brings people together from every part of life. In an era of sometimes very partisan politics, it's very clear that this issue about what we do for veterans that have served our country is the one thing that really brings us together in communities across California and across our country. So we're very privileged to be here with you today to join in that effort. I want to start, I think, with a presentation of the colors.
Will you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now I'd like to bring up Reverend Amy Goodwin-Solon.
Good morning. Gracious God, we thank you for the opportunity to acknowledge your blessings on this amazing day. We recognize and act on your great spiritual direction to love our neighbors as ourselves. Today we celebrate those who have served God and our country by serving their needs with this wonderful project. We ask your continued presence and blessing on this endeavor. We ask that you please consecrate this earth with your sanction. Protect this project with your guidance. Teach us to continue to serve with love and devotion. We affirm your accomplishments through us as we build this on a foundation of charity and justice. We pray this with great faith in your honor. Amen.
Now for the national anthem, I want to bring up Phil Rios.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave of the brave.
Okay, please be seated. Thank you. Except for you, Congressman, I'm pleased to introduce Congressman Ami Bera. I know he doesn't need an introduction from me. I just want to say a word of thanks. He's been a huge supporter of affordable housing and Mercy Housing since he came into office, and in fact before. And we welcome him and thank him for all his support and help on this project. Congressman.
Well, this project symbolizes so much of what we can do when we're willing to work together. And there's a real urgency of serving our veterans. Because if we look at the statistics, 50,000 veterans sleep on the streets every night. And that's a shame. That's disgraceful. We've got to put an end to that. If we look at the fastest growing group of veterans, there's 10,000 veterans that served in Iraq and Afghanistan. So you have veterans that are 21 years old that are sleeping on the streets. That's unacceptable. And the fastest growing group are women veterans with children that are going homeless. So it's projects like this that are the urgency of addressing that and serving the men and women that stepped up to serve our country, to protect our freedoms with that same dignity and that same honor. Now, this is a really important day for me, because when I think back on my first term in Congress, one of the first projects that I visited after getting sworn in was this project. And we went on a tour of the facility. They talked about the vision and where we wanted to go and how everyone really had a stake in this. From the federal level, our office working to get the vouchers that were necessary to secure the funding to build the project. From the county, to the city, to the VA. And it's an example of what actually can happen when we set aside differences and we work together. We were able to get those vouchers for phase one. We were able to secure the funding. So to actually come back as I close out my first term in Congress and break ground, this is what's possible when we work together at all levels of government and we put service first. When we put serving our constituents, our veterans. That is what this is all about. So I'm very honored to be able to join you today. I'm very honored to see a project come together. We're working extremely hard to get those vouchers for phase two so we can continue to move forward and continue to address the problem of veterans with insecure housing. Now, I'm going to present a Congressional Certificate of Recognition. And there were far too many individuals that really made this project come together. We'd be up here for hours. So what we did is we actually decided to present it to the building, because the building actually represents addressing this issue of homelessness and addressing our veterans. So again, on behalf of a grateful nation, thank all the veterans for their service. On behalf of a grateful community and country, this is what's possible when we work together. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Please stand. We'll stand down. Oh, he went away. Thank you so much, Congressman. We really do appreciate the support. And for those of you who don't know, this is really one of the major federal initiatives in a time of very scarce resources. One of the things that we are committed to, seemingly in bipartisan ways, is really addressing the crisis that the Congressman mentioned. And so as you talk to elected officials, whether you're from this district or from another, the more you can mention the incredible importance of the VA supportive housing program, the better, because this is really what's making this possible in communities across America. So thank you, Congressman. We have a long list of folks that have been involved with Mercy Housing over the years. Incredible support from the folks that are here today. One of them is Assemblyman Ken Cooley, who has been a supporter of Mercy Housing and affordable housing for a long time. He has a long track record of service, not just in the Assembly, but in local government and the legislature. And I want to thank him for everything he's done and bring him up to the stage. Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman.
It is just great to be here on this day that we will break ground on this, what is just phase one of a three-phase campus providing supportive housing to veterans, and in this case, chronically homeless veterans. And particularly on this day, I think everyone, including several in the audience, are sick and tired of the volume of campaigning and the critical nature of it. You get sick and tired of it. So on this day, to come together, as Congressman Ami-Bera has said, and show the fruits of collaboration. You know, we just had the Pledge of Allegiance, that great word from the Pledge of Allegiance, indivisible. You know, what we are going to see today is a product of us being indivisible, the teamwork. The city of Rancho Cordova, which early on kicked in $1 million as a loan, our little tiny city of under 70,000 people, making $1 million available, putting that on the table to signal our city's intent that this type of facility should be in our city, adjacent to the hospital, where it can serve people. And the county's collaboration, the leadership of Don Natoli, Bob McGarvey, who has been sort of with Reed Flory like a dog on a bone on this issue. That persistence, that determination. So I just want to say it is just a great honor to be here with my Congressman Ami-Bera, to celebrate this launch of what we will see as this ongoing campus. The state has a role through HCD, but also Prop 41 monies. We're going to be working on that. And then to conclude, I just want to note for all that over our lives, we have often heard renditions of our national anthem, as Phil Rios just did. Today is about the first time, I think, that you have heard it seated, standing, on what shall indeed be those last three words of our national anthem, the home of the brave. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So, you know, in the long list of all the people that made this possible, the county played an absolutely critical role. As the owner of the property, they really made it possible for us to make this project happen. They donated the land to the project via a 99-year ground lease, and that's how we came to be in possession of this for moving forward. And I want to thank one of the champions of that work. In fact, you know, at the supervisor level, perhaps the champion, Supervisor Don Natoli.
Well, thank you, Doug, and good morning to all of you. It really is a great day, as both Congressman Bera and Assemblyman Mercooley have said, not only to be here in the city of Rancho Cordova on the Mather Community Campus, on the grounds that for so many decades served this community as a military base, staging for not only folks that were stationed here to learn the navigation and the piloting, but also this was pretty much a ground zero for our national defense. And I know folks that are familiar with the history of Mather recognize that it had a very long and storied history, one that folks may be very proud of. And I think we celebrate today certainly the advent of something that's going to be very, very positive, the good work. And I'm going to just in a moment note some of the folks that have had such a hand in this. But I want to just say that here this morning, and I see so many veterans here in the audience this morning, and have had a chance to talk with some of them, to recognize that the activity that every day goes on here on Mather, certainly in our community, really is one of service. It's of service certainly to our veterans, but to the broader community. And you think about it, we have over 100,000 veterans in the Sacramento metropolitan area, and there are a good number of them, as Congressman said, who are at any given time struggling in their lives and trying to cope with whatever it might be, either aftermath of their service in wartime or some of the other issues that come with just living daily life. And this place, Mather, certainly the Veterans Village that will soon be under construction, the Veterans Administration Hospital, even the community campus, are places where folks can come to not only to get better, but to, I think, really regain their rightful place, certainly in society and in our community. And so for me, this really is a very significant milestone. And over the years, we've celebrated many milestones out here at Mather and certainly in this community. And I want to just note, too, as Doug said, that the county gave the ground. This ground belongs to the people of this community. There's no question about it. I mean, it belongs to the people of this nation as a military base. It came to the county via transfer. Our good work with the city, with the Housing Redevelopment Agency, with the veterans organizations that are here, certainly Mercy Housing, with our state and federal representatives. But it really is, I think, right and just that we have this type of opportunity for folks who are in need to, again, regain that self-sufficiency in their lives, to have a place where they have a roof over their heads, good meals, good support services, and I know that's what this will be about. And again, I want to say to our veterans as we approach Veterans Day, but certainly on every day, thank you for your service to our community, for your continuing service, your support for those who may be veterans, but also ones who struggle mightily to regain a quality of life and to be honored and rewarded for their service as well. I do want to just note briefly that, again, this has been a very collaborative effort, one that has required tremendous support and energy to put forward, obviously, the resources, the dollars, and the partnerships that go into it. And I want to commend the city of Rancho Cordova. I know you have members of the city council and other city administrators here, certainly Bob McGarvey and his colleagues, Ken Cooley when he was on the council. We have Donald Terry, Dan Skoglund, and Linda Budge all in the audience today. And I want to note their ongoing leadership and support, because they have been supporters not only of Mather, but of serving this community in so many, many ways. And I think they can be very proud of today as well. And so with all that being said, I just am delighted to be able to stand before you to share a few words, a few thoughts, and to offer my congratulations to everyone who's had a hand in this, everyone who will have a hand in it as we go forward. And I know that when this is done, as the logo for Mercy Housing says, people will live in hope, but they'll live not only in hope, they will realize what that hope means, and that will be a good quality of life, a better quality of life for them, for their families, and for our community. And so with all that being said, I applaud Mercy Housing for their leadership, all of those who have had a hand in it. Congratulations, it's a great day. Thanks.
This is a tremendous collaboration, and I do want to just say, I probably erred in not mentioning earlier, this is a partnership between Mercy Housing and the Veterans Resource Center of America, so I don't want to, I realize we're all realizing what an incredible collaboration, but I would just want to call out that this is truly a partnership between our two organizations as we move forward. So in that spirit of collaboration, it's already been mentioned what a critical role that the City Council played, in particular Vice Mayor Robert McGarvey. He's got deep connections to this base and to the military, and has been, again, one of the people with the deep political will behind this project. So, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody to the beginning of the Veterans Village. I looked at my notes. I have notes all over the place. You look at my office and you can't find things most of the time because they're buried with something. But in those notes, I found that the first time I was working with Bob Burns Jr., gentleman that was another one helping to get things going on this, was in June of 2008. That wasn't really too long, but the thing that will kill you sometimes is the process. Today, we have some action, and that's what we've been waiting for a long time, Something that kind of drives me nuts most of the time is you have a military installation, but no room for the military. Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. So, today we have some room for the military, for the veterans. These 100 apartments are going to build a permanent housing for the veterans. The 60 beds on the second story of this building are for the veterans. Get them off the streets. Get them a place to learn what is actually available for them. 1 block to the VA hospital. I can't think of a better way of doing it. Ken said whether or not I had a bone that I was chewing on for a while. Yeah, I can't find it in my pocket right now, but I looked when he said that. And if you look at that plane over there, there's a whole bunch of people. I couldn't find my face on it, but I was stationed here with the B-52s at Mather. So maybe I'm up there. I just can't quite see it. People have been working for a long time on this, and I'm glad that it's actually coming to fruition. I don't know how many people to say thank you to, but I'm saying thank you to all of them. I'm saying thank you to the veterans. This has been quite a thing that to actually come to this point where we're actually going to dig the dirt, and before the end of this year, they will actually begin building the apartments. As was said, the women veterans, the people on the street, people with kids, it's going to be something that will be another way of showing this is how you do it. This is the beginning here. Hopefully we can find other places close. I know that I'm looking for some money and some acreage here at Mather. So if anybody has an acre or two they want to help with, I'm looking for a place to start building a Fisher House. And if you know where a Fisher House is, it's like Ronald McDonald's. It's a place where the families can stay where their kids are being operated on, being treated. It'll be the same thing here at Mather, a Fisher House for the families to come and their veterans being treated, taken care of at the hospital, but it's a place for the families to stay. It doesn't cost them anything. I mean, heaven knows we have enough hotels here, but it's a lot cheaper if you're already tight anyway and you have a place to stay while your veteran's being taken care of. So thank you to everyone here. Thanks to the veterans, thanks to the Mercy Housing and the VA and the city, the county. Don Natoli has been one of the stalwarts along with a lot of others here trying to get this thing done. And we started, as I said, that if I can find back to June of 2008. And being stubborn helps sometimes, you know. Thank you.
Stubborn does help, especially in this business. 6 years is unfortunately just about normal for us like in the affordable housing world. So I know many of you are probably a little bit unfamiliar with the world of affordable housing, and so it is always the case that when we build these developments, it takes an enormous amount of public investment, and it comes from different places. One of the key pieces of investment we have on these projects are something called the federal low-income housing tax credits, and they're administered by the state treasurer's office. We've had the honor over the years to work with an incredible executive director there who is on a victory lap here. He's a native of, or at least a resident native, I'm looking for both, Bill, native of Sacramento and an incredible public servant. I want to introduce Bill Paveo.
Well, thank you, and good morning. And I should tell you, so I just work down the road here in downtown Sacramento, and I don't get to very many groundbreakings. I do sometimes get to grand openings, and those are very exciting events when you see folks moving in and you celebrate that moment. But I also really treasure joining you at a groundbreaking, because to me it really is, it's the beginning of the beginning, and it's a magical moment when all of the hard work that got you here now really begins to bear fruit as the project goes up. So thanks for letting me join you. This is especially meaningful for me. My father was a career Air Force man and was a chief warrant officer. He was stationed at Travis as well as at Mather. And so for me and my family, this is especially important. So again, thanks for letting me join you. Doug mentioned I work with low-income housing tax credits, and just real briefly, the way that works is it's a federal resource as well as a state resource, and in this case, this project has both federal and state low-income housing tax credits in the deal. What those tax credits do is really induce in private investment into affordable rental housing development. And in this case, based on the application we reviewed and approved, it looked like this one was going to induce in something like, about $13.4 million worth of private investment. And I suspect that number probably got bigger since we reviewed this application. And so So think that's about, let's call it $14 million, offsetting about a 20-something million dollar cost. So low-income housing tax credits are really helpful in pulling together capital to get projects like this built. And the way we make these resources available is through a very competitive process, a competition. And this project successfully competed in our first round this year, again in a very competitive environment, but was successful in large part because it was a quality deal. It was proposing really robust services on site. It's near a medical facility and other resources, and it really met all of our public policy objectives. So the other thing that's really remarkable is we just approved this just this past June. And so to see it getting off the ground so soon is really remarkable. And so we congratulate Mercy, we congratulate Veterans Resource Centers of America, the city of Rancho Cordova for not only providing those city services like plan checks and reviews and code enforcement inspections during the progress of the development, but to actually put money on the table. Not every community around this state is prepared to do that. So I commend the city as well as the redevelopment agency and all of the entities that really brought us to this moment. And I really look forward to joining you at the grand opening. And so please find me, and I'd be glad to join you. So thanks again. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Bill. I didn't see Claudia Capio here today, but she is the director of the State Department of Housing and Community Development, and they're another critical piece of the funding package here. For those of you who remember, a few years back, we voted for a series of bonds. One of them was called Prop 1C, and there's been some money from that in what they call an infill infrastructure grant to help us build this project. So again, just trying to let you know what came into being that you voted for, perhaps, to support this project. It's also my pleasure to introduce Maria Kramer, who's the director of the Office of Community Planning and Development for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. You know them as HUD. And Maria is a huge, lifelong supporter of affordable housing, and she's been working on it for many, many years. We've worked with her on many projects. She's a true champion, and she's going to say a few words about the federal role. Thank you, Maria.
Good morning to you all. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm very excited about this project. HUD has made a commitment to the veterans of this country to provide housing for chronically homeless veterans. This is an example of what I believe will become a truly outstanding example of a project that brings together the services and the resources that are needed by the people that have served this country. I'm sure I reflect the views of my colleagues at HUD when I tell you this is what we're for. This is what we're trying to do, and I am very honored to play a small part in what has become and will become an outstanding project. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. So Bill mentioned earlier one of the key aspects of this project is the use of low-income housing tax credits. And so Mercy does this type of financing across the country, and particularly throughout California. And we have a number of outstanding partners, but perhaps none stronger for us than Wells Fargo. They are an investor and a lender in this project. They work with us on the easy projects, the hard projects, and everything in between. And we have really come to rely on them and value them as a partner. In particular, I want to bring up Tim McCann from Wells Fargo.
My name is Tim McCann. I work for Wells Fargo, and I'm representing the Community Lending and Investment Group. And we have a couple people from Wells Fargo. It takes a village at Wells Fargo to get affordable housing done. Lori Sato, who's on the construction lending side, and Pedar Bruce, who's a local community development officer, are here. So I just wanted to point them out. Thank you. I come to grand openings and groundbreakings a lot, and I'm always humbled by the amount of contribution and the amount of people and the amount of programs it takes to put affordable housing together. And it's, to borrow on the Veterans Village, the Veterans theme, I think one of the things that's, my father was a veteran, my sister was in the Marine Corps, my mother retired from the Veterans Administration, so although I'm not a veteran, I'm told that what's important to any warrior is that they have a strong heart. It's not necessarily the dog in the fight, it's the fight in the dog. And I think that really applies to affordable housing developers. You really have to have a strong heart to get affordable housing done. Like this property, it took 6 years or 10 years or whatever it took. You have to have a strong heart because you have to be willing to help others find affordable housing. And we think this work is really important to build 50 units that are going to support veterans and have a bunch of services. We think at Wells Fargo this work is really important, and we're excited to be part of Mather's Veterans Village, and we're excited to be partners with Mercy Housing California and Mercy Housing everywhere. Mercy Housing, you probably all know, is the best developer of affordable housing across the country. And we know because we're the biggest investor, Wells Fargo is, across the country. For the past 4 or 5 years, we've been the biggest investor across the country, I think the biggest investor in California, and come 2014, we're going to be the biggest investor in Rancho, Cordova. So we're very excited about our investment, our construction lending. We're really excited about doing another fabulous community with Mercy Housing California. And I want to thank everybody in the audience and everybody who's speaking today for all their contributions they have made to making this project real and coming to fruition. Thanks a lot, Doug. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You can see why we invite Tim back. Thanks for the kind words, Tim. We really appreciate it, as well as the partnership. So we've talked about how long this has taken. Someone who was there from the very beginning is here to say a few words, and that's Lachelle Dozier, who's Executive Director of the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. She has taken a long journey to get here with the, what do we call it, the passing away of redevelopment in California, but they've stuck with us as a partner, and SHRA continues to be a very strong agency, and Lachelle an incredible partner. So Lachelle Dozier.
Thank you, Doug. This really is a very, very exciting day and a long day in the coming. I say that at a lot of groundbreakings because that's really what it takes to do affordable housing, as you've heard. This started out as just a concept. The city leaders, I want to thank you because you were a dog on a bone, and you worked very, very hard, and you continue to hold the vision in terms of what would actually be here. And also I want to thank my bosses as well at the county, Supervisor Don Natoli, and also I believe Supervisor Jimmy Yee is here. And they work very, very hard to make sure that we continue to make this vision come to life. And what we do at the Housing Redevelopment Agency, even though there has been a death in the family in terms of redevelopment, we still do a lot of the federal stuff. And those are the vouchers that you've heard in the discussions. And those vouchers are so, so important in terms of how this project comes together and gets financed. And just to give you an understanding in terms of how the current administration has made such a deep commitment to ending homelessness amongst veterans, there are actual cities within the United States, Salt Lake City and Phoenix, where they have ended homelessness. So I think that people need to understand that it is possible for homelessness to end amongst our veterans, and that we have that full commitment and support of our current administration, and we're using those resources as creatively as possible so that at some point someone will stand up here and say that we don't have a homeless issue here anymore within Rancho Cordova or the Sacramento region. And so I think it would be very interesting because I've talked to my daughter who's 12, and she doesn't know a situation where there is no homelessness. So it would be very exciting for me as a parent to be able to say that is one of those types of problems that we tackled and that we actually solved. But I want to tell you one last little story before I leave in terms of these VASH vouchers and just kind of a success story. And this is why we know these vouchers really work. We had a young woman who was on the program. She was a disabled vet. She was in her late 30s, and she returned, and she really needed housing. She was able to obtain one of the VASH vouchers, and while on the VASH program, she got her degree as a medical clerk. After receiving her degree as a medical clerk, she joined the VA at one of the specialty medical clinics and became a medical clerk and receptionist. Her income increased to a point where she still needed the subsidy, but she was doing okay. But because she thought it was such a great program, she decided to self-terminate because she wanted to make way for someone else to take advantage of the same opportunities that she received. So it just really goes to show you that the type of people who use these programs are people who are committed to helping their fellow veterans, and they have that spirit of everybody really succeeding. And so it's very exciting that we're here today to make sure that that happens for many more veterans to come. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lachelle. So we're halfway through. It's just another hour to go. It's my pleasure to bring up David Stockwell, who's the director for the VA Northern California healthcare system and a critical part of our work here at the campus. Thank you, David.
Good morning. I am not David Stockwell. I'm Kevin Maxon. I'm the associate director. But I definitely appreciate the introduction. 4 years ago, President Hoover signed the executive order establishing the VA, reinforcing President Lincoln's vision to honor those who have borne the battle. Since 1930, we've been through World War II, we've been through Korea and Vietnam, we've been to Iraq, and we're in the current conflicts. And I see some of the representatives of those conflicts here, and I thank you for your service. Through all that, we've learned a lot. The VA has learned a lot about what it takes to care for a veteran. They need health, obviously. That's why the VHA is here. They need help with family issues. They need jobs. They need housing. What we really learned is that it takes a community to provide that whole package. The VA can't do it all. We, the VA, are thrilled with this project, with having such willing and enthusiastic community partners to share in our mission, to fill in the gaps, and to honor President Lincoln's commitment to those who served us. Thank you to the City of Rancho Cordova, to the County of Sacramento, to our state and local representatives who have made this new beginning possible. Thank you.
So it's my pleasure now to bring up our partner. As I mentioned earlier, before Mercy, well, I didn't mention this earlier, but I will now. Before we were on the scene, we had, this building and this effort really could not have come into being without the Veterans Resource Center of America. They were here advocating during that visioning process. They have been providing services for over 40 years to vets. They're our co-general partner, in effect, our co-owner of this effort. And Mark Deal is the Chief Operations Officer and is up to say a few words. Mark, thank you for your help.
Wow, you took most of my lines. Sorry. That's okay. That's okay. You know what? This has been a 6-year commitment to the veterans in the city of Rancho Cordova from VRC, as well as our partners, Mercy, and we're really, really grateful to Congressman Berra, Assemblyman Cooley, Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Natoli, Vice Mayor McGarvey, City Council of Rancho Cordova, certainly the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the impetus for us behind this project, Reed Flory, who has done an incredible job of sort of cattle prodding all of us in the right direction when we needed to get there. I'd like to point out my executive director, Peter Cameron, who's been with this project since the beginning. Bert McChesney, the director of our Veterans Housing Development Corporation. And probably the most important, in our mind, person here for the service provider end of it, which is Jason Henry. He's going to be running the services for this site once it's complete. Jason? So like you've heard, we've been doing this for about 40 years. We have 13 service centers, 8 of them in Northern California. We have about 10,000 veterans, homeless and veterans with barriers that come through our doors every year that we do programs and services for. We are a CARF accredited agency, which means that we have a standard. Most of other agencies use some of our best practices for the service delivery for veterans as they go forward. In other words, we're good and we know it, and we're glad to be here today. The services that are going to be provided here on site are going to be intensive case management, behavioral health services, rapid rehousing, employment and training, and life skills, and they're going to be done in a culturally competent manner, which means that we understand veterans. We understand the trials and tribulations. We understand the barriers for veterans because we've been doing this for veterans for 40 years. I myself am a combat veteran. I am a son of a combat veteran, grandson of 2 combat veterans. My cousins, my uncles, all combat veterans, and now recently both my son and my daughter are combat veterans from Afghanistan. Thank you. So we have a commitment to veterans. We have a commitment for the quality of services that are being provided that extends way beyond just a job. It's not a 9 to 5 for us. It's something we do every day. It's something we do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our motto is we've never left a veteran behind, and we're going to keep that motto and keep it going. Somebody once told me that entering into the service, we signed a contract with the American people, and that contract was that we would fight your wars, that we would protect you, that we would do everything that you asked us to do, and we would do it honorably, which we've done, and that you guys would take care of us when we came home. This facility is a prime example of you keeping your promise, and I thank you. Have a nice day.
Thanks very much, Mark, Peter, and the rest of the folks from VRC. Incredible partner, and we're really honored to be here with you in this development. I want to bring up somebody who's been part of the planning for this project. He's also been the man pulling up the flag here for us today, as it's fallen down a couple times, and that's Don Harper from the Veterans Affiliated Council of the Sacramento region. Don.
He has a cold, so we're passengers back and forth. Good afternoon, really, and good morning to everyone. I have a few comments, but before I start, can I have all the veterans please stand up in the audience? Every veteran, please stand up if you will, and let's give them all a very big hand. Thank you for your service. Please sit down. Thank you. There's a couple of Marines in the audience, so I have to say Semper Fi back. So thank you very much. Yeah. Seriously, folks, on behalf of the Veterans Affiliated Council, which represents all the commanders in the Sacramento region concerning veteran service organizations, I'm here to say thank you and welcome everyone. What a special day this is for the community, for our disabled veterans, our homeless veterans, but this is the village they'll call home next year. This would have not happened without our elected officials and our planning members who made it possible. So from the veterans community, my community, I say thank you to all of our elected officials and planners who made this possible. Please give them a big hand. I know, but being on the planning committee, just an ancillary person as a veteran's voice, it was not easy getting here. But you slogged through the complex planning process, funding process, and like an army, you moved forward like a military operation, and you got it done. Let's give them a hand. They got it done. I'd like to address some comments to the our local community of homeless veterans and disabled veterans. I've been serving veterans for over 30 years, homeless veterans in the Sacramento area, along with Peter Cameron and others. So I'd like to make a couple comments. We all need a dash of hope in our life when time gets hard and we get challenges. We all need that dash of hope. These veterans are no different, but they need a future vision of hope they can believe in and hang on to. And this Mather Veteran Village will give them that future vision of hope for many of them. And I would like to define hope, if I can, for you. H is for the housing they need to stabilize their lives, to get them off the unsafe streets. O is for the opportunity they will have to improve their lives while working toward a path of success and self-reliance. P is for the peacefulness of living in a safe and supportive environment that many of them have dreamed and longed for a long time. And E is for the easing into the new apartment with pride and living with other veterans. Yes, help and hope is on the way. With more housing programs being built and this incredible village being built, our yearly stand-down, Sacramento Homeless Veterans Stand-Down event might be a thing in the past. I started stand-down back in 1992 with the help of Don Natoli and others. We've been running stand-down here for 23 years in Sacramento, and it's about time we shut that down if we could and build more villages here in Sacramento. That would be a great goal for all of us. But for example, last month we had our stand down, our 23rd stand down in Sacramento. We served 225 homeless veterans in Sacramento over a 3-day period, offering critical needed services. That was a good thing, it's a needed thing, it was a great outcome. However, after those 3 days, imagine this, these veterans who've served their country now find themselves back on the street. That is a sad thing and unacceptable. Folks, there is something so morally wrong with that picture. So morally wrong. Think about that. So you can see now how important it is that this village is needed on this base and the other bases. And that is why our local leaders, quite frankly, stepped up to do the right thing. It wasn't easy to do. You heard about the pushback for 8 or 10 years, but they stepped up to do the right thing. In my book, as a Marine, I call that leadership. Let's give them a hand. So everyone here might call this a Mather Veteran Village, but the veterans living here, when they move in here, they refer to this to the Veteran Village, Mather Veteran Village of Hope. And that's exactly what we're doing here, providing hope for our veterans. So I thank all of you for making this day possible. For when the veterans finally spend their first night in the village, it will truly be a real welcome home. Thank you. And hoorah to my next friend who's going to step up. He's another Marine. Hoorah. Semper Fi, buddy.
Thanks, Don. I think we all kind of share what Don said and Lachelle said earlier. It is a shame for us that as a country we see homeless veterans. It's also a shame for us that we see homeless families. There was just an article in the paper the other day about how many kids are attending school that are in trailers or cars or whatever it is. So I hope for those of you that are new to this world of affordable housing, you come from the veterans perspective, or those of us in the affordable housing world coming to the veterans world, we have a lot to learn from each other, but one of them is that we really need to get together and end this crisis of homelessness in our country, because it affects veterans, which is deplorable, but we have young kids living in cars that are going to school that are homeless, and we need to do something about that as well. So I thank you, Don, and I hope you appreciate that spirit with you, so thank you. Before we move on and introduce the next speaker, I do want to just thank the team that is going to build this building and has designed it. So hanging in the back, I think together, we have our architect from Mogavero, Notestein Renner, in the back. Our civil engineer, Warren Consulting, Broward Builders, and then the folks from VRC, of course, and Mercy Housing. We did ask a favor of someone today, and he's flown all the way up here from from Los Angeles County to join us. As Don mentioned, he is a Marine. We've had the pleasure of knowing him for a very brief period of time, but it's been a joy for all of us who come into contact with James Jacobs. He's a veteran. He's living in a building in Southern California that also was a VA VASH housing development that we did in Southern California with a partner. And he's been gracious enough to come up here today and share a little of his story. Thanks very much, James.
Well, where can I start? Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. And, I have to thank Mercy Housing for giving me this opportunity to obtain stable housing. It's been quite some time with me, jumping from pillar to post, all the shelters and missions downtown LA, several garages, and then also, by me having a very good family support system is important to me, and I'm happy to see two of my brothers here today. And it's given me the opportunity being with Mercy Housing, and it takes a village, to raise a child. And I'm one of those children in the Veterans Village of El Monte, a beautiful place. It kind of looks just like this here. It really does. And I'm really happy there. Beautiful place, really nice. And, with cooperation from everyone to pull together, like I heard, the homeless veterans in this country is staggering. Statistics proves that's nearly 10% of our nation's population, and that's pretty sad. But by having opportunities like this together, now that's where the village comes in at, the village of El Monte, and also Mercy Housing in collaboration with Rancho, Cordova, giving homeless veterans the opportunity to have somewhere, heck, I haven't had a key in about 13 years. And it's a great feeling, to stand here today amongst other veterans and also state legislators by giving other veterans that chance that Mercy Housing has given me. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today, and God bless everyone. Bye-bye.
So in a minute, we're going to turn the dirt, as they say here at these groundbreakings. But before I do that, there are some other folks that I'd like to thank. Obviously, we want to thank our partners from VRC for their incredible leadership in this. If I could just, there are a lot of people that helped pull this event together from VRC, but also from Mercy Housing. So I want to thank everyone who helped make this event possible. And in particular, if I could just ask the folks from Mercy Housing to raise your hand and acknowledge your great work. And then if I could just beg your indulgence for 1 second. We have a tradition at Mercy Housing where in a staff of what I think are incredibly committed people, once a quarter we get together and try and figure out who's really standing out amongst us and has made a special contribution to what we think of as the spirit of mercy, which is this idea that we need to live in hope. The project manager for this project is one of those guys. His staff, voted, and he is the recipient of our Spirit of Mercy Award. He's been a project manager with Mercy Housing for many years. He's truly a selfless individual. He probably doesn't even want to come up here today. But if you could just join me in giving a round of applause to a very special person, Jeff Riley. I told you he didn't want to come up. That's as close as we get Jeff to the podium. But he does incredible work, largely unseen, but just great work, and he's one of the reasons why this building has come into be. So I want to invite Reverend Ramey Goodwin-Solom back up for our closing prayer.
You may rise and take a deep breath. In great joy, fill your hearts with joy at this amazing project that's come together. So amazing. Let's lift our hearts. Great Almighty God, we dedicate our service to support our fellow military veterans as yet another opportunity to show honor, faith, trust, and love to you. May the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God be resolute. May the hands of God provide protection. May the way of God direct us. And may the love of God go with us forever. Amen.
So in a second, we're going to have the retirement of the colors and the closing song. And then if I could ask all the speakers to join us over here for the turning of the dirt. We got very special hard hats for you that I'm sure you're excited to wear, especially because it's getting hotter. So if I could ask that gentleman from the VFW post 10125 to come back up and lead the retirement of the colors.
Forward, march. Honor guards. Halt.
So if I could ask Mr. Phil Rios to join us again to lead us into our day with another song.
Okay, Paulette. This Irving Berlin wrote a song in 1918. Kate Smith sung it on the radio for the first time in 1939, pre-World War II. The song's called God Bless America. Irving Berlin wrote a song. Kate Smith made it our song, and I'm going to sing the first stanza 2 times. It's our song, and I'm inviting you to sing the song, to share with us all together. If you're shy, come in the second song. Don't be shy. Let people who need to hear us, hear us. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the dark from the light from above, from the mountain, through the prairie, through the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountain, through the prairie, through the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet home.
Okay, you were happy I wasn't near the mic. Incredible singing. So with that, we're really done with our program. There's some light refreshments, some cool things to drink, and if I could ask the speakers to come over here for just a turning of their, and I want to thank everyone for your partnership to date and what I know will be a tremendous partnership going forward. Thank you again.
All right. Let me go over here by James. I'm right behind you. All right, you're good. I see very difficult. No, we're all getting in here. You ready? We're just going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to lift it, and then we're going to throw it, and then they're going to make us do it a couple more times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Can we do one more time just in case? All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey! Yeah! Everybody smile and turn. All right.
All right, and let's do, how about we do the councilman, and if everybody can stay here, we'll just do the councilman right now.
I think there's only one councilman, the others didn't come up here.